Hey everybody, it's Mike Venus and I'm back. And I was asked this question about um, what are my thoughts about recording audio into the Akai Force? Either straight into the audio clip on the arranger or in the looper or sampler. Okay. And why is it that on the clips you might get popping or clicking at the beginning and end and you have to apply fades? I'm going to explain. So let's get this out of the way because like I said, I constantly catch a lot of slack from the Force community. Um, the Force to me, and from the way that this would make sense for someone that's asking this question, the Force is a sampler. Okay, a looper board or a looper or a sampler is the same thing. Okay, and the one thing about the Force and the MPC, um, these are hardware devices, totally different from something like loopers or samplers inside of a DAW. Or what I used to have, the Head Rush Looper board, which is kind of like have almost that computer-esque type flow because you can quantize in a DAW, you can quantize your audio in the looper board, but you cannot quantize your audio coming in when you're recording on the Force or the MPC. How you play it is how it's going to respond. So if your playing isn't tight, right, then your loop is going to be off. That's number one. So understand that. You might get away with that shit on like Ableton and on like other DAWs or maybe the Hair Rush Looper board because it quantizes your audio. You might get away with being a little sloppy or late and early and all that because it's going to snap it just like MIDI, but it's doing it to the audio. On the Force MPC, it does not do that. It does not quantize your audio. So that might lead to your loop being a slightly earlier off, which might lead to popping and clicking at the beginning and end. So that's number one. So understand that the way to force the MPC looper, sampler, or recording audio into this thing operates like an old school hardware sampler. Just like I said from the jump. If it had the same capabilities like Ableton or other DAWs or the looper board, which allows you to quantize your audio coming in, so you can, like I said, you can kind of get away being sloppy or not being as tight. You cannot do that on the Force or the MPC. So that might be a reason why either you're recording to the audio clip or on the track to the arranger, sampler, or looper might be off, which leads to popping and clicking, which means you have to fade it in and out. That's number one. Number two, processing. My best result when whenever I had made a song where I recorded my guitar straight into the Force, I recorded in there dry. I don't have any guitar pedals, so I followed the example from the earlier, like the beginning tutorials they have on Akai Professional YouTube channel where they had the guy who was recording his guitar in. His guitar was dry. He didn't run it through any pedals and then into the Force. He just went straight into the input and recorded straight to the audio clip dry. And then he added effects to the audio track to give the process feel. So that I did it that way and mine came out perfect. My timing was good. I didn't have to do any like post editing to the clip or nothing. Timing was good, everything. You know what I'm saying? And that goes back from me playing, playing guitar, playing instrument, being tight on staying in the pocket, staying in rhythm. Oh shit. So, yeah. So I would say either if you're gonna record audio in here, number one, your timing got to be good. So practice, practice, practice. So your timing is tight, right? Number two, when you record into the Force or the MPC, no matter if it's like I said to a clip on the audio track, to the arranger, to the looper or sampler, you go in straight dry, no processing. You add the processing afterwards, either adding effects to the audio track or sending on your sends and returns, send effects to it, but don't record in with processed audio signal. Your timing will be totally off. Add that on at the end. Okay. Um, Third um, suggestion: if one way you can do this is, you know, say you. This applies more if you're using a MIDI or plug-in or key group type um, track, right? And either internal sounds or external. Um, we'll say internal because this is how I use it. Basically, record that. Play your MIDI or whatever, and once you get the sound you like, go and record it to the arranger, right? Then what you can do, you can hold down over, touch the screen, touch that particular clip, and hold it down, and it'll give you these options. You can bounce it to a sample, right? That might help as well because the sample is going to be set to however your MIDI is, how many bars that is. So that's one way I used to use the MPC to quickly come up with my own loops. Then I'll chop them and flip them. But it's not, the looper function on the MPC is a little bit weird. It's not as comprehensive as the Force. So I flip the workflow here. I will use the looper, then go through that process of recording to the arranger to bounce it down to a sample. You know what I'm saying? Then chop it up and then put it into a drum track. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather just record it to the looper, put that in the audio clip, go to sample edit, chop up my loop and convert it to a drum track and then play it like that. But yeah, so that's another way. Or just record straight to the sampler. Because like I said, the way this works on the Force and MPCs is more of a traditional sampler. So, on here you can set the threshold for the audio to hit a certain mark and it's go over that before it start recording. So that might lead to your timing being off. So what I would suggest, go to the sampler, basically push it to start it so it give you, a few, seconds to gather yourself, play your part, then let it go a little bit after the end, and then stop it, then edit it. Cut off the excess beginning and end, or extract which part of your playing you like in the center or of that, and then use that as a loop. That's more of a traditional way, but that's how I use it. So recap, get your timer down, because this doesn't record, it does not quantize audio. Come in dry, no processing. Allow the machine to process, or send it to the 3 and 4 outs to external processing. Use the sampler and just trim off the beginning and end, or extract the part that you like, or record to the arranger if it's a MIDI track or like a plugin or key group, and then bounce it to a sample. Those are ways that I find that works best with me using the Force and the MPC when recording audio and making loops. So with that, let me know Y'all be blessed. Mike out.